Hello lovely people, my name is Emma and today I'm bringing you another book haul on this channel. So quite unusually for this book haul, given my most recent past few kind of 7 book hauls I think, this has a very low percentage of both non-fiction and classics and is far more of your modern fiction. I am going to be going through the non-fiction first, so if you are one of the lovely new people who's following me off the back of my non-fiction November TBR, I have some non-fiction goodies for you here, hopefully most of which you won't have actually seen yet. If you're not here for non-fiction, if you're one of my kind of old school subscribers who is getting very sick of the amount of non-fiction content I've been putting out over the past 2 weeks or so, then I will try and put a timestamp down below as to when I start talking about the actual like modern fiction that I have bought recently. So there's a fair number of books. I'm in my living room, the rabbits might come and eat them, so let's do this. What I'm sure you haven't seen yet is The Year of Living Biblically by A.J. Jacobs. This is a beast. I accidentally bought a bunch of airport paperbacks, which is annoying because I don't actually like this format and didn't realise I bought them off of a used bookstore website. But yes, this is the true story of a gentleman who tries to live as close to the Bible's rules as is physically possible in today's society, and it is his year of trying to live biblically. So this includes things like avoiding shellfish, but also, which is probably relatively easy, but the slightly more problematic one of the stoning of adulterers. So I just want to read a section off the blurb for you. So, the stoning of adulterers proved a little more difficult and potentially controversial. Was it enough to walk up to an adulterer and gently touch them with a stone? Even that could be grounds for accusations of assault, especially with female adulterers in Manhattan. So what's a good Bible reading boy to do? Basically a bit of an examination of organised religion and religious texts, which often get hailed as being something that we should live by, and it's, well, what is that genuinely like? I think it's going to be really good fun. On a much bleaker note, we have The Ends of the World by Peter Brannan. This is about basically apocalypses and previous mass extinctions, which, given the global warming crisis and climate change crisis that the entire world is facing at the moment, seems very timely. I do have a few books on here that are about global warming and climate change, but yes, this is also recommended to me because I'm so into reading about dinosaurs, and this covers their extinction as well as other extinctions that have happened in the past, because there have been several mass extinctions in the history of Earth as such. Again, like I said, on the note of non-fiction climate change, I have The Uninhabitable Earth, The Story of the Future by David Wallace Wells. This has been making waves, I guess semi-pun not intended, in the non-fiction world. Waterstones had it as a bit of a bundle recently. It's supposed to be absolutely incredible and also terrifying, and given everything that's happening with Extinction Rebellion and just a lot of stuff going on about climate change, I think it's important to educate myself. Having said that, I don't know when I'm actually going to get around to reading it, because there is something to be said for ignorance is bliss, and whilst that's not very responsible of me as, like, you know, a person existing in the world and taking up space, sometimes life is too bleak to then also learn about more bleak stuff, so that's just something to bear in mind. The last climate change based book I have is this itty bitty one from Greta Thunberg, and this is No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference. This is kind of her manifesto as such, and it is all the proceeds of it go to charity. I'm hopefully going to get to this in non-fiction November. It's tiny. Like, of course I'm going to. Also, I've just noticed the font's freaking huge. Obviously, Greta is an absolute powerhouse of a human being. She's become so iconic recently, and I'm so impressed with everything that she's doing. That girl is incredible. So it would be, I really want to get to this as soon as I can. Going a bit more old school and less about pressing crises, we have The Professor and the Madman by Simon Winchester. This is a tale of murder, insanity, and the making of the Oxford English Dictionary. This is recommended by a book olive, or Olive from a book olive on her channel quite often. It's quite thin, and I picked it up from World of Books recently, so I'm very excited to get to this. What I actually did recently, which was really nice, was went on World of Books and also pulled up my like want to read good read list, and actually went through and bought a bunch of books off of that, because I'm notorious for putting things onto my want to read list, and then when I'm out in a bookstore buying pretty much anything but, and just like getting completely sidetracked by stuff I physically see in the bookstore rather than these books that I've like flagged as ones I definitely want to read. So I'm trying to consciously buy more off of my want to read list and get through that, because it has, I think, about 250 books on it right now, so I need to start culling a few and buying a few and kind of getting it moving a little bit more. So another one which I have is Gulag, A History by Anne Applebaum. This is another one that Olive has recommended in the past. She's read it quite recently. It is the story of the forgotten Holocaust that happened in Russia in Stalin's legacy. So it's going to be very emotional and intense. Again, hopefully going to be another non-fiction November read. Enjoy is the wrong word to say about a book like this, but I'm looking forward to reading it to learn about a part of history that I know very little about. And then today, literally again in a bookstore, I bought The Golden Thread, How Fabric Changed History by Cassia St. Clair, because there's still a sticker on the front. Oops, I need to take that off soon. I actually saw this in hardback form around this time last year in Topping & Co. in Ely, and very nearly bought it, but really couldn't justify the hardback for it. But then I saw this come out in paperback now, and honestly I much prefer this cover to the hardback anyway. I think this is really pretty. I really like learning about kind of the art world and kind of crafting and things like that, and this is literally a history of fabric and how fabric has changed and shaped history. And again, I've heard it mentioned in a few videos semi-recently. I can't remember who by, I'm so sorry, but it's supposed to be really good, and she has another book that is about a similar kind of topic, so I think it's gonna be really interesting. I find history of like items and history of things that we almost take for granted, like everyday household again items, really fascinating. So those are all the non-fiction on my shelf, my new entries, and now we have a bunch of fiction. So I have 2 pre-orders that have arrived, which you probably have seen in everybody's hauls recently, and then I have a bunch more like honestly quite random stuff that you probably won't see anywhere else, because I buy and read really random stuff. The 2 pre-orders that I have that everybody has is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. Not read it yet, not actually that bothered by reading it. And Philip Pullman's The Book of Dust, Volume 2, The Secret Commonwealth. Again, not actually that fussed about reading it right now. Both of these were like pre-order from Amazon in a bundle with the new Erin Morgenstern's, which isn't out yet. I think it's out sometime mid-November, so that'll probably be in my next book haul. And it was like, you know, if you bundle them all into one, then you can get money off kind of thing. Philip Pullman is the second book in a trilogy which is revisiting his world from his Dark Materials trilogy even. I read book 1 of that trilogy back when it came out now 2 years ago, and was deeply unimpressed. Have started reading the book 2 that's arrived, and am not that bothered yet by it, and it's 700 pages and I just don't think I'm in quite the right frame of mind. But honestly, this reading month has been a bit weird, so there's been a whole bunch of things that normally should totally float my boat and I've just not been in the mood for. So I'm hoping that it's down to that rather than just me being a bit sick of Philip Pullman in general, which would be heartbreaking because His Dark Materials trilogy is one of my like all-time favourite book series ever written. What like my favourite childhood book ever, and to have that ruined by work that comes subsequently would suck as an adult. So yeah, so those are my 2 big beefy hardbacks. I so don't often buy hardbacks. Right, what we got? My dad gave me Noir by Christopher Moore. This is supposed to be a bit of a spoof of crime noir fiction. He said it's good fun but not really worth bothering with particularly. It's not like a gift as such, it's more that he finished it and was like, do you fancy giving it a go? It's entertaining, it's light-hearted, but it's hardly gonna like revolutionize your life. The big reason why I wanted to read it is the first line is, it might be love at first sight when a mysterious blonde named Stilton, like the cheese, walked into the scruffy joint where Sammy Two Toes Tiffin tends the bar. And I just love the fact that the main character, one of the main characters, is called Stilton. So I'm already kind of psyched by this, but I don't know when I'm actually going to get to it. Also, the cover's great. Like, I love noir. Noir is fantastic. I bought The Dog Stars by Peter Heller. This was from Heifers, the same as The Golden Thread today, and one other one that's in this pile. This is supposed to be like The Road, but with hope, is what the front cover says. It was in their post-apocalyptic fiction section of this big display where I'd read all bar 3 of the books on that shelf, of the like 12 that they had showing, and this was the one that I hadn't heard of the 3 that I hadn't read, so I thought it'd be interesting to give it a bit of a go. It is literally post-apocalyptic America, and something to do with planes is the big thing. Yeah, that one of these survivors has his own personal aeroplane and he's managed to keep enough fuel to be able to keep flying it a bit, and then he spots another pilot off in the distance, and then it's about his trying to trek to connect with this other human being across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It looks pretty cute, so I'm quite content. with this idea. And I love me some post-apocalyptic fiction. We all know this on my channel. The other one I bought today is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I just finished this on audiobook this morning whilst washing up. But I really like the idea of owning a physical copy. I quite like the Agatha Christie covers. I think they're very pretty. And generally I am trying to, where I have ebooks or audiobooks, if I really do enjoy the book, to have a physical copy, because I just do think that I like physical books. I like having that in my collection. I like being able to see them on my shelves. So this was one that was a bit of a spur of the moment buy, just because I wanted to own it. Then we have another World of Books order. I got The Radleys by Matt Haig. This is one of his older books. This is kind of pre his How to Stop Time and Notes on a Nervous Planet fame as such. And this is sort of a spoofy idea of vampires. I actually started reading it today on the bus. I think I'm about 30 pages in. 30 or 40, let's see. Oh god, I'm 80 pages in. I had no idea I'd read that much. It's good fun so far. I think I'm going to really enjoy it. And it was a conscious decision this year that I did want to read another Matt Haig. So it's quite nice that I am going to finally get round to that. The only classic in the entire collection, and it's a modern classic at that, is The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. This is one of the Virago modern classics. I have one of their others on their shelf, and this is one that I am very casually semi-collecting, but like not really, but kinda. I think they are stunning, but I don't know much about many of the titles that they carry. So this looks quite interesting. This was made into a movie, which I've not seen. And yeah, it was a very spur of the moment purchase. It's like a crime noir thing. And let me just kind of read the cover again. He's been basically told that he has to kind of sweet talk this guy, and then he kind of almost like starts to take over his life or something like that. It looks really cool and interesting, so I'm game. And then a super spur of the moment one in Tesco of all places is The Familiars by Stacey Halls. This is something to do with witches, and it's historical fiction, and I honestly can't remember much. This is a cover buy. I vaguely remember this having a bit of hype around on BookTube when it first came out. Goodreads keeps trying to like recommend it in the little sidebar because I've read a decent amount of historical fiction recently, so I think it's semi-similar to like The Binding and other such historical fiction like that. And honestly, it's a cover buy. I'm sorry I don't know more. Deal with it. There was an amazing tweet recently that was like, people who do book hauls and don't know anything about their books, just like take 30 seconds to read the blurb so you can actually talk intelligently about them. And do you know what? I feel very victimized by that tweet. How dare you? No, I don't want to. I'm perfectly happy saying, I bought this book knowing nothing about it. It's a cover buy. I hope it's good. We're getting there. We have like 6 or 7 more to go. I have Battle Mage by Stephen Aaron. This is another one that sat on my Want to Read's Goodreads list for a solid year. Sorry, there is a motorbike outside. I wonder if you can hear that in the audio. I hope not. Oh, you will be able to now. Yep, that's fair. This is book 1 of a trilogy, and I read book 1 of the second trilogy that he was writing in the same world. And it referenced back to this original trilogy, and I really enjoyed the world. It's high fantasy, very cool magic system, but I think it would be good. I don't think you need to know what happens in this original trilogy to enjoy the second one. I definitely didn't feel like I'm missing out on things. However, it probably makes sense to read them in order, so I have bought it finally. Again, it's one of these ones that I've been meaning to read for ages, but I'm just more likely to if it's actually on my shelf. I just forget that my Want to Reads on Goodreads exists, which is stupid. So yes, quite keen for this one. Couldn't resist this. This is The City of Dreaming books by Walter Moers. This is book 3 in the Zamonia world. I've read book 1 as a child, book 2 recently. That was Rumo, amazing, back in June. Again, book 3 just owning up my shelf means I'm more likely to get to it. We've now pretty much established Walter Moers as like a firm favourite, and I love this Zamonia world, so I know I'm gonna have a good time with this. It's very like absurdist fantasy. Think Terry Pratchett, Tom Holt, Neil Gaiman, people like that, but in my opinion better actually. It's actually shorter than most of his books because I think Rumo was like easily double the size of this, so I might get to it semi soon. I think they're quite fun summer ones, so it'll probably sit on my shelf for a while, but it's lovely to have the next one. And again, it was like they're normally about 20 quid in bookstores, whereas I spotted it, I was not expecting the new and used, the used website to have it, and then when it did I was like, awesome, I'm buying that. It's only £3. Seriously, World of Books, fantastic. In that same World of Books order, where I just kind of smashed through my Want to Read list and bought a bunch of stuff that I could find, is 6 4 by Hideo Yokoyama. This is apparently a Japanese crime phenomenon. It's a cold case that then gets dragged back up, as far as I'm aware. It might be 6 women who were killed. It's something I've read ages ago now, like literally like back in sort of A-levels. I went through a phase of reading a lot of Japanese crime fiction and really enjoying it, and then one of them popped back up on my like Goodreads recommendations, where, you know, it kind of brings up a book and you turn around and go, oh my god, I've actually read that but years ago, so I forgot I had. And so I kind of went trawling through a bit, and this is one that I haven't read, so I'm quite excited about jumping into a genre that I've not read for years but read very intensely for about a 6-month period and then haven't really touched since. So I think it's gonna be really fun to go back to this. It is chunkier than I was expecting. It's also not in great condition. Look at that blue, but you know, it was £2.50. You pay for what you get. And that's Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. This is, apparently she's the Ray Bradbury of her generation, is what this says on the front. But this is set in Russia, and it's to do with Russian folklore. And this one was, I think actually I wanted to read this before I read The Bear and the Nightingale. And The Bear and the Nightingale is about Russian folklore and is one of my all-time favourite book series ever. Amazing stuff. So I'm really keen for this one. I think it's going to be fantastic. So yeah, at some point we'll read this. A bit of a silly one now, a bit of one that I do not have high hopes for, but I think will be perfect for when I'm in the mood for it, and that is The Extinction Trials by S.M. Wilson. This is YA, and it's The Hunger Games meets Jurassic Park. It literally is The Hunger Games but with dinosaurs. I mean, like, I'm here. I'm so here for it. It's gonna be stupid. There's no getting around it. It's The Hunger Games with dinosaurs. There's no way you can do that seriously. I don't think it's going to be well written. I have very little expectations from this book, but when I am tired and in the mood for silly YA, this is where I'm going first. Like, I cannot wait for this, but I need to be in the right mindset for it. And then the final book, I think, is, honestly, it's got a bit messy back here. I don't really know what I'm doing today. I'm a bit all over the place. Sorry, guys. Is The Lost Time Accents by John Ray. This was one where I did not know how long it was, and probably wouldn't have bought it had I realised, because it was on the website, and it's huge. This is time travel, or more specifically a human being who is then left out of the loop of time. And as far as I'm aware, I thought it was going to be a bit of a like How to Stop Time, The Thief of Time kind of vibe, where they just stop aging. But subsequently, since it's arrived and I've like scanned through it and read some of the blurb stuff on the back, I think it's actually more paradoxical than that and might have some looping stuff and might be like really trippy. So apparently it's a bold and epic saga set against the greatest upheaval of the 20th century. It might be vaguely set something to do with the war as well. Yeah, it's definitely got huge references to the Second World War. So I don't quite know what I bought. It could be fun. You never know. And if not, it's only £2.50 and it can go to a charity shop in like 18 months time when I actually haven't read it. So we never know. You never know, do you? But it's been on my want to reads on Goodreads for, again, a solid 18 months or so. It's only by getting these things and actually having a proper chance to really peruse them do you really find out if you genuinely want to read them or not, because it's the kind of thing that I just bookmark so much stuff on Goodreads, and sometimes the blurbs are really just not accurate. So it can be fun to get a hold of them, and especially if you aren't paying too much for them. And I really do like World of Books. Do check it out if you're in the UK. They're a great resource for getting books for really cheap, which are used. So yes, that's it from me. Where do you think I should start, other than reading the Radleys? Anything jumping out as being something that would be good to go for next? Have you read The Testaments or The Book of Dust, Book 2? What did you think to them? I'm trying to stay away from too many reviews because I'm already not overly psyched about either of them because of the hype. I don't really know why I pre-ordered them. I'm not a pre-order kind of gal. I never bother, and they're going to sit on my shelves for like a solid 6 months until the hype dies down, so I might as well have bought them in paperback later. But we're going to ignore that fact because I own them now, so we'll just deal with that another day. But yeah, do let me know what you think about them, and that's it really. Have a wonderful reading week. I'll chat to you soon. Bye.